I asked the Rav 2 weeks ago, and the Gabbai, exactly for Siem, Siem here. So I finally got a chance to get myself together with all my things I need to make a busy schedule and make the Siem. So I like to invite the item first of all to help myself and take whatever I want. And if the Rav wants to give a speech afterwards, as a thank you, whatever it is more than welcome. Anyways, I wanted to say over a few Gemaras here in Masechet Shabbos. I'm finishing Masechet Shabbos for my second time Gemara. Baruch Hashem, my second time around the Shabbos. Baruch Hashem, this is why I've always conveyed eating, learning that all these svarim are on my table every day at my desk, and I'm always learning that constantly. I hardly work. You know, I have all these keys on my pockets. Doesn't mean I'm always working, but Baruch Hashem, I'm able to be zeicha, to be say Tayas Keva, the Melach Chalayai. Anyways, I want to start with the Gemara over here on Kufnam Gimel on Shabbos. It says, Polis Yivu Dech Lavein Hashem L'Roshcha Ya'aksa. Reichen L'Zach Moshe Nel Shazim N'Aseh Bata B'Suda. They call them Zman. He wasn't given on Zman. Pikach Ben Kishtu Asaf Shloim. Yashua Pesach Beismelach Amru Kulam Pasal Beismelach Tipshin Shebem Holkum L'Achram L'Kum Yeshuda B'Loi Torah. Yeshuda B'Loi Torah. So the Pikcham Shem always ready, always ready for whenever the time comes that the Melech is going to call them to make the Suda, so they always kept their clothes ready, everything they needed, always ready for the Suda. The Egyptian got their clothes dirty, when the time came to the Suda, the Melech called the Suda, they weren't ready, they weren't prepared, they weren't there for the Lachim. So what is this pasuk referring to? So the Farshim brings down, the Zohar brings down that basically the pasuk is referring to that when the time comes, the person should always be ready for tshuva. Always be ready to be chayzer tshuva, no matter what situation he comes in. He should always be ready for the time that he has to go up the day before, like as if the next day he's going to pass away, chas v'shalom, and he has no time to do tshuva. So it should be always full of mitzvahs. You should always be chopping around every mitzvah you can, because you never know. Whenever the time comes that a person goes up to Shemayim and he has no chance to get a mitzvah to grab, to put himself in the Gan Eden. Also, another Pshat brings down later on, another Pshat brings down later on, it's another Pshat in the place of the Gezayah Kaddish basically brings down, and the Flesh brings down, and Musasar brings down, basically, the whole Chalaisi, the Def Nevein, and Sheno Ishno Yasa, a person should always count himself as a day, as considering himself always, preparing himself for mitzvahs, because you never know when the time comes that he has to go up to Shemayim. And another Gemara is brought down beforehand. It's brought down that there is stories after story brings down that, and also in the 23rd paragraph, that there was certain people were digging up bodies to see which disintegrate, because they said there's a pasuk that brought down that at the end tzaddikim their bodies disintegrate and they go up to underneath the throne of the Kisei Kavod. So they dug up one Amoyer, I forgot which Amoyer it was exactly, and they found him whole. So they asked Amoyer was alive, how come this Tana didn't go up? Didn't go disintegrate, go up to underneath the throne of the Kisei Kavod. So they made the Tana speak, and he said, you are covering something that you're supposed to learn in the Nevi'im. So it says in the Nevi'im that only the bodies that weren't Oiver and Kina disintegrate, and those are the bodies that are Oiver and Kina disintegrate, and they eventually, if they come back, they get the schus to come back to their full life, to Gan Eden, and to Tchias HaMesim, they get a schus. But once they over on Kina, the Aveir of Kina, they disintegrate, and they don't stay whole prepared for Tchias HaMesim and for Gan Eden. Only the Neshamas go up to underneath, and also only the Neshamas go underneath the throne from Tzaddikim. And those are a whole, they're never over in Kina, they stay whole, and they're always prepared, ready for Tchias HaMesim. So now, a lot of people ask me always, when I mention to them that they, I finish this Masechta, I finish that Masechta, this Makani, and this and that, Makani is for the Shas. I tell them, there's no such thing as Kina. First of all, it says in the Torah, the Sachmoit, and it says, L'chol asher yecha afterwards. A person that's going to be kind of someone in his learning should see a situation, in other words, and to want to be in his situation and also learn in that situation, to see if he really is worth it to be Mekana himself, to be able to say afterwards. The person wants to put himself in that person's situation, and no matter what it is, and then it says still he's going to learn and finish Shas and finish Masechtas and finish everything he can and still learn all day. Then let's see if he can. Like there was certain Nevi'im though, Mekana and Moshe Rabbeinu, and like Eve was Mekana and Moshe Rabbeinu, and then he ended up suffering all his life at Tsaros because of that. So there's Isser of Kina, because if a person is Mekana and so on, no matter what he's Mekana, he has to Mekana Kol She'echa. He has to be Mekana of everything that the person has in him. No matter what it is. If it's kind of one thing, it's learning, it's kind of this, you have to be Mekana the other parts also. So that's why a person that has no Kina, no Kina whatsoever, he eventually stays in a situation that he never disintegrates, and he's always ready for Tchias HaMesim, always ready for Gan Eden. And how does the person work in this situation? How does he know that he has no Kina? The person could be kind what it says in Pirkei Avos, Shali Shalcha, and come to the Midas Chasidus, the Midas of Tzaddik, to be in such a situation, then he knows he has no Kina whatsoever. He has no Kina. If he can always go and just go do favors for a person, no matter what, buy things to people, give things to people, no matter what he has, if it doesn't count on how much money he's spending on a person, but the fact that the Shali Shalcha, that everything of mine is yours, and no matter what, I always give it away, that person can work in a midah that he has no kin on him. Because once he comes to this midas tzaddikus, that's shli shachah, 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 and he knows he always is giving to the next person, always giving no matter what situation, he's always giving, then he knows he's in a situation he has no kin in him. And the opposite, which is real what I'm picking up, is that the Russia that says shachah shali, 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 is basically he always looks into the next person's property and always to see what that person has, always want what that person has, because everything he has no issa of our masik in the Torah or chas because everything is his. He belongs to everything. His kin overwhelms everything that he can't stand. He's in the Bechal of Russia that he can't stand. He can't stand Yenashal Home Nepis. He needs it also. That's the kinder. That's the opposite. But that's the opposite of Shali Shachah, 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 which is a tzaddik which has no kinder whatsoever. That's what this Tana was trying to tell this Amira. That a person comes to a situation that he has no kinder, he stays home in his grave, and he's always ready for Tchiyas HaMesim no matter what it is. And then I want to end up at the end of the Masechta. And before, I'd rather usually mention this, before I make a siyum, I always learn the Lishmas several people, and I say Mishnayos, I add a Mishnayos every time when I come after Eis Mekoyim and Shachas, I learn some Mishnayos to add on to Mishnayos, as opinion of Anigom Mishnayos to Eis Mekoyim when you learn Kavanas. So I add on Mishnayos, and of course I learn all these Soil, Musar, and everything. I all do this also to give credit to those who are Karis HaTayv, and those who earn Karis HaTayv, all my grandparents and everything, my Zaydis, and my father, all Shalom, and all these people that raised me and everything. So I will say the Nishmas for these people, which is Moshe ben Shlomi Yaakov, Moshe ben Chaim Tzvi, Moshe ben Yisrael, Rav Nachum Mendel ben Rav Levi Yitzchak, Rav Yisrael Cheskel ben Rav Yoel Levi, Rav Mordechai ben Abba Moshe, Rav Shmuel Eliezer ben Shraga Feibel, Dov ben Yishai, Shlomo ben David, Rav Tzvi, Bar Yisrael, Rivka bas Shraga Feibish, Rav Yitzchak ben Shmuel Yaakov, Rav Moshe ben Rav Amram, Amram, Rav Miriam ben Rav Amram, Shimon Echoi, Rav Yosef ben Eliyahu Zalman, Rav Yehuda Chizkiyah ben Rav Yosef, Rav Yifol Yitzri Dov ben Rav Naftali Herzl Chaim, Rav Gershom ben Rav Yehuda Zalman, Rav Yehuda Zalman ben Rav Meir, Rav Tzvi ben Rav Yisrael, Rav Yisrael ben Rav Eliezer, Rav Abraham Tzvi Chaim ben Ezra, Rav Yehuda ben Rav Yitzchak, Rav Yechiel Tzvi ben Rav Moshe Ayer, Rav Yehuda ben Roisam, Rav Yaakov Shmuel ben Rav Baruch, Rav Yimel ben Rav Yazer, Sharon Shoshanis bas Rus, bas Chanach, Rav Yaakov Shmuel ben Rav Baruch, Rav Tzivya bas ben Morris Tzivya bas Rav Yitzchak, Naftali Herzl Chaim ben Siyam, Golda bas Yecheskel Shraga. All these people are all Karis HaTayv, and all those my ancestors, which I don't have their names, which I all Karis HaTayv for the fact I came down to this world to learn all this Torah and to stag away and to do all this Chesed and Torah I spent my life around. So all this Karis HaTayv, and I paid them back for the schus of my learning and my siyums, every siyum that I make, I paid them back that the schus that my learning should go up and help them to come closer to the Shleimus HaGuf, that they should be ready for Tchiyas HaMesim and Gula Shlema. So there's another Gemara here that brings down Masechta Shabbos, talks about that if you're allowed to measure on Shabbos, measure Vatefach. So there was a Gemara brought down a sugya that if there's a bias that the mace pass away, or has a shear of a mace in there, and there's a tefach open, and there's a door opening. So if a person stands in the doorway, if he's tummy or not, so the shayla, if the tefach that's still open, it takes away the fact that there's another opening, and he comes tumah. He doesn't come tumah by standing by the door. So the shayla, if you allowed to go check that on Shabbos to see if that tefach is a meat of a tefach with your hand to measure, to see if that person is tamei or not. So the Gemara says, if it's leginia mitzvah, you're allowed to. Let's say if the person is a kohen, he has to go to the avodah, so then you're allowed to go to measure the measurement. And then the Gemara brings down that safe. So there's a lot of inyanim about tefach. But people don't know. A lot of people are knocking a lot of tefach is oiker. First of all, tefach the shemayim in a mikvah is usually shikava, which is enough to be toivel for a certain tumas. There's a tefach in the shear of an opening for a mason in the goyim. If let's say a kohen comes to the house and before he comes to check the house out, you open all the windows. If there's a tefach opening in every single room, there's a possibility that the kohen won't get a shear of tumah on himself by walking in before he announces it's tumah also. And usually it's not tumah until the kohen announces it tumah. But then also there's an inyan of a tefach that the chloin mitzvahs. It's also shir of a tefach, which is when I was saying we're in Mitzrayim used to make tefach windows of tefach, used to do koyach hatomim, koyach kisha, steal things from us, and we used to find it in Makas Choshech when we went around. So they used to take a lot of things from us with koyach tefach. That's why it's also to have a house. The Hilchos Bayis is also to have a house that has an opening of a tefach, basically in the wall, which is shaila, which is kashash on opening for kishuv and opening for gnebus v'akum. That's why it's brought on Gemara and Pesachim also that we learn in Pesachim that if the person has an opening of a tefach between a guy and his house, and he has to be boidik, so he should be boidik the shir that he's over. It's coming into his house. As a child, he should go check it because then the guy might think he's still there shofim and they're connected. So the child also that a tefach also the tefach of opening. There's another inyan of tefach of sealing a chaloin, sealing a pesach, tzuras a pesach in the Hilchos Binyan. That if a person closes a window or a door, he has to leave a tzuras a pesach. Some people just leave an eye, which is not considered really of opening. And then there's some people who know the actual halacha, which you have to leave. They have these like square glasses, like this size basically, the square of they leave it in the window spot, or they leave it in the door spot, and they square it around something, molding, whatever it is, just to leave the kind that they shouldn't close off to the Pesach, not leaving a tefach opening, which is the halacha. So they close it with a glass, and that is considered the mavatal that people should have the goyim in their house and affections in their house, and choilis in their house also. Also, there's an inyan of tefach that is a choil in the house that has a terrible infection, like we had corona lately. If people would have known to just leave the windows open at tefach, usually the virus or the corona would have an escape of the choilis, and it wouldn't spread so much really. Which is usually when there's a certain choilis that spreads in ruach hatumah, the choilis that spreads, if there's a window open over tefach, it usually doesn't spread so much. So I'll just continue now to go to the Gemara, ending off the Gemara here. Ula ikla be'er rish kalusa, chazil l'rav barafuna. Now Yosef Amna, he was sitting in the bathtub. He was measuring in the bathroom. He was putting his hand down and he was measuring. Like, is he measuring for a mitzvah? Who said it's mutter? I'm just playing around. I'm not measuring for fun. So why would I think he was measuring for a mitzvah? Because usually if the person's taking a bath in a tefach of water, he'd be toiling himself for a certain tumas, and he'd become tar because he was in the shem mitzvah. He's allowed to do that on Shabbos. A person, let's say, has to go to a mikvah. And he has no mikvah. He has to use the bathtub, and he fills it up with tefach mayim shuvin. So for that tefach mayim shuvin, it's really tisha katan already, in the measure of the bathtub. So usually he's already becoming. He's using that for midah the mitzvah, so he's allowed to do that on Shabbos. So So Zok Rashi the Abba Beginis later in a cup full of water. The Sasi Shloish Loyotzech, El Sis Gebal, he was doing it for Stamal. So they said, don't even about your shoulder. I am Chaim Pirish Baal, Mehino the Mitzvah, the Lab Mitzvah Mi Over, Vika Loivin, and the Rosh Mitzvah Bishna El Bishuni, Call Kainam Elo, after the meeting of Indian Shamitzvah. That only allowed to do this, basically what we said earlier on the phone, that we're only allowed to do these measurements for Indian Mitzvah. Hanalach Mishahechshech, Salik Allah, Hanalach Mishahechshech, Salik Allah, Shams, Hanalach Mishahechshech, Salik Allah, Shams, Hanalach Mishahechshech, Salik Allah, Shams. Hanalach Masechet Shabbos, Hanalach Daglach Masechet Shabbos, Daglach Leis Tashminov Masechet Shabbos, Shnos Minol, On the Osem, Hanalach Masechet Shabbos, Hanalach Daglach Masechet Shabbos, Daglach Leis Tashminov Masechet Shabbos, Tashminov on the Osem, Hanalach Masechet Shabbos, Hanalach Daglach Masechet Shabbos, Hanalach Leis Tashminov Masechet Shabbos, Tashminov on the Osem. Yosef Nechal Yoel Heino and Saint Shteis, Yosef Saint Loy Mazel, Saint Bon Loy Lamabon. Kamine ba papa, Rome ba papa, Nachma papa, Choy ba papa, Noi ba papa, Rach ba papa, Roch ba papa, Suf ba papa, Adi ba papa, Dor ba papa. Ham no Neuen Heino, das ist aus der Welt zusammen, das ist so mehr nach Kulon und nach zu sein, zu Zeug, Koldeis, zu Zeug abgekommen, wie so. Kulon und Jöde Schmech, und dann ist es auch nicht mal mehr, weil es ist auch Leute, die sagen wir werden mal ewig ein und ich glaube gedacht auch wie sagen wir nein und nicht kommen in selber bei wollen wir nach und sehen statt von dem ist das something like English knowledge and there was too many scheme so scheme dann ist man dem alle kann so haben wir kann so alle Leute kein Rob in das Message und da kann wir in das alles als dann mehr ich mehr manier einfach braucht hier auf nach der neue Schiff da kann sein was Shabbos kein so sein das Hass und Sepp war nach Simon Lumen und Lamm nicht mehr lassen kein muss das Code bis auf das Haus ist kommt nein soll so wieder ist gekommen ja mit dieser Seite so mich toll mit dem sei aber es ist kein Salat und dann weiß ich schon und ich war da das ist Geliebe ihr werdet sie wohl fast nicht kein aber kann mir das soll richtig kommen in neue ist auch nicht das schon Skadei shmi Allah und rasul asqala yakhliya masila sabri asli khayal min khaykat min shlay shaqla Allah hay khalay gawan de week ma khalat kun khram en adel asal van de shvaya asay we ga je ga je geweest zo wat ons maar korin
This was here. What's next? Everything. What's next? What are you learning here? Nice shots.
You should know, right? That when you're saying that, I'm like, oh man, like, good for ranking.